I think we're live. Immediately switches to the stream voice. Donald is like, oh god, this guy. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Let us know if you can hear me and see my screen, and also hear the duck with audio being cool and everything. You alright?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, man. Pretty good. Pretty good. Apparently,
For
it sounds
Friday
great.
evening,
Yeah, I know.
for Friday evening spent inside, sitting and staring at the charts.
I mean, in the absence of literally any alternatives, yes. But the excuses start to evaporate slowly as things become less locked down, even if it's temporary.
Oh, really? Have you?
We're supposed to ease up on the 2nd of December.
Oh,
Um, let's do intro and then roll it, 'cause we can talk about that.
yep.
First things first, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you spending your time with us on Friday evening for us, or morning, afternoon for you. So thank you for being here. Second of all, thank you to Bybit for sponsoring Technical Roundup. Their links can be found in the description below if you want to check them out, and it's a fantastic way to support the live stream, so make sure to do that, and thank you to them. And lastly, we are so close to 12k subscribers. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, like the video as well, to spread and share the love and all that kind of stuff, even though just spreading anything just isn't the right verb to be using in COVID times, but I'm sure you understand the sentiment that's being expressed. But yeah, that's all from us on a intro point of view, and obviously you'll have me on Monday to do something a bit more substantive. Not that this isn't substantive, but it's called Casual Friday for a reason. How you doing?
Good. Decent enough.
Decent enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
The lockdown here is so it's supposed to get lifted kind of regionally on the 2nd of December, I think.
hmm
Just that there's a really dystopian part of it all, which is we've kind of had a year with this thing, right? And the
Yeah.
go-to tool, at least in the UK, which has been amongst the worst in just Europe for dealing with COVID, be it by mortality or track and trace, just generally the numbers, I mean, even economically, the numbers haven't been great coming out of my lovely country, right? But the thing that astonishes me is that we've been at this for like a year, and two things particularly are stunning. The first is that somehow we've arrived at a likely vaccine faster than we've arrived at rapid testing as well as a track and trace app. Now that to me is just stupid. I don't know if you agree, but that something is
Yeah.
completely off when when an actual vaccine with the high efficacy rates that are being shared is kind of on the table before you can actually test for the damn thing with any meaningful capacity or have an app which works. A bloody app. That to me is insane. I just can't process that. My brain is too small. And the second point, which is linked off the first one, is that the only reason, like we've had a full year, and the only tool that we've got left is it's like using a blunt instrument or like, hitting a nail with a sledgehammer sort of thing. Because we don't have the testing necessary, we have the track and trace, we don't have anything, no infrastructure to deal with this thing. We're left a year later using only blunt instruments, effectively turning into open everything up, oh no, not really, shut everything down, right? Because we can't test, because we can't trace any kind of regional approach or, finding pockets of whatever and limiting its spread without shutting down the whole country, that's just like not an option because those kinds of resources don't exist, and it's just a sad state of affairs and pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. I feel like it's just been kind of lost in the sea of, or what's it called? In documents and all these kind of laws that you have to follow.
Yeah,
Where like the Western countries are just way too slow to kind of implement everything because they're worried about, and I mean for good reason in some cases, but they're worried about privacy, they're worried about
yeah.
all these kind of data security stuff. But yeah, in that kind of situation that we're in right now, maybe that's not the biggest priority. But yeah, who knows? This is gonna be interesting to talk about in like 5 years to
Yeah,
look back and see like how hard this was fucked up.
that I
But yeah,
agree.
in Germany, it's kind of like we're gonna go and keep this up as long as it's allowed by the law, actually.
Hmm.
So the only reason why we actually have an end date to the lockdown is pretty much because by law we have to have one.
Can it be renewed or refreshed or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's already been said where it's like, the lockdown is gonna end, and then it's been like, but we're probably just gonna put another one right after it.
Right.
So we'll see. We will see.
It's just the way things have developed are so hard to fathom intellectually. Even like I still can't get over it. A vaccine, an effective vaccine before an app. I mean, you can't. If you were to tell me that, I don't know, a couple of months back, I would find it very, very difficult.
I mean, we have an app actually in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, at least you've got that. Also, the comments are amazing. As soon as you talk about COVID, it's like, please stop talking about it. China virus, fake, authoritarianism. It's just like peak crypto crowd, you know? It's okay, we're all fucking stuck inside for a year because of this thing anyway. And I can't pretend it doesn't, you know, whatever your beliefs may be, it's still impacting most of us pretty directly. And it's also casual Friday, you know, there's market content Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday as well. We're going to talk a lot about markets, but you know, we can open up.
I mean, that has a lot to do with the markets, right?
Exactly. Like I'll be able to talk to my great grandchildren and tell them that I bought the COVID dip in Bitcoin and then explain why I'm still poor because it went to zero and I didn't cash out or something. I don't know what the story is going to be like at that point.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, but it's like, I was long pets.com, you know, like, oh shit.
I mean, that's a story and a half, right?
Yeah, I'm here for the stories, not here to make money, right? It's the friends, the stories, and everything else is secondary.
The experience along the way.
Exactly. It's the journey, not the destination, all that kind of stuff. What I do on Monday streams is I bring up just like random news bits on Twitter, stuff that's kind of interesting or relevant, especially suitable for Friday. And I kind of have a chat about it on my own, which is always boring because, you know, it's just me. So I thought, why not extend that a little bit and see what you think on some of this stuff. And I didn't obviously tell you what the articles or tweets were ever going to be. So fresh reactions, I guess.
Oh,
but the first one, just bringing it up on screen. It's a tweet by Coinalyze, which is the day after that big drop in Bitcoin. And it essentially says, Bitcoin yesterday, 1 billion of open interest wiped out. Record trading volume, 66 billion on Futes, 7 billion on Spot. 900 mil, I think, longs licked. And 1.5 billion just on the futures market generally. So I think that's non-Bitcoin, just everything, including Bitcoin, all coins, all exchanges, etc. Did you short this? Did you have any sort of exposure? What do you think of this? Any narratives that are appealing? Sort of, we needed a big wipe to reset and now we can go up. How are you interpreting this? Because for me, Twitter just sucks on days like this. Because no matter what happens, there are no, like, apart from the usual legends like Gainsey and whatever, Crypto Squeeze and some others, there's no real, you know, even if people have strong views, they're being very reserved about them. But you and I know as soon as either continuation or reversal emerges from this, suddenly everyone's going to be like, oh, wait, you didn't buy the dip? You're a fucking idiot, right? Or if it goes down, everyone's going to retweet some random shit and say, well, of course, you know, high time frame support was at 14K the whole time. You can't just keep buying dips and get rich, but this is good for Bitcoin, etc. So I'm just wondering if you have how much weight do you give to this kind of OI wipe reset or whatever?
So for me, like position-wise, I've just been shorting Link. I've talked about it on stream like multiple times now. I mean, I was kind of like waiting for us to take out 20K. I thought that would be in the realm of possibility, so I didn't really want to take like too big of a Bitcoin position. Even more so because I've just been unleveraged all the way up. So I've just been enjoying the spot rise. But yeah, for me, market structure broke, right? So any kind of, the next big rally is for selling, I think. Mm-hmm. But we'll see how that plays out. Until then, I'm just shorting Link. And that's been really good to me. So I'm going to continue doing that. And with regards to like all this open interest wiped, whatever, I mean, Bybit alone has so much open interest just wiped off. I think it was like 50%.
Yeah, it's insane. It's got 50% open interest drop. My God, dude.
Yeah, which is
we need to do more educational content on this channel, I think. So maybe on like using leverage more safely, or I don't know, because I think Bybit lost like 50% of open interest on the drop, which for those who don't use these tools or whatever, or want our interpretation at least. That just simply suggests that there are a lot of really leveraged longs at the top, and as price started pushing down, they puked / got licked, and that reset. And that liquidation obviously reset the amount of open positions, because when you get liquidated, your position is forcibly closed by the engine. So that's that.
Yeah. Someone asked, what is open interest? Open interest just shows it's not how many positions are open, but how much Bitcoin is in a trade, basically, depending on if you measure it in Bitcoin or in USD.
Yeah.
So let's say you offer a trade, like you start a trade for like $1,000. Someone else has to take the opposite side of that, right? And that registers as open interest. And then, the higher it goes, the more positions are open. And then whenever you get like big spikes up or big spikes down, those usually tend to close. And that's what happens.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There are some other uses, like Jules Salsa Tequila was on the stream. I think he talked about kind of anticipating a range / the probability of a squeeze based on how high or low open interest is as well. So there are other uses, but at least for our purposes here, that's plenty. So yeah, in terms of kind of resets and okay, now we can go up because the noobs have been flushed. Do you follow any of that stuff? Do you agree, disagree, or is it just kind of noise and cope depending on your bias?
I think it's cope.
Yeah, I agree.
More than anything. Like the thing is, it obviously, like I think most of this, like most of the new next price action that we're gonna get depends on if we're gonna see the Coinbase buyer step in again once we're actually through the weekend. If that happens, and if you just get like stupid buying, like continuously stupid buying, probably gonna go up. But in general, I think market structure has just been broken. So it's a parabolic rise, right? We've had those multiple times, and more often than not, like the moment market structure breaks on those, you get a big retracement, and I could see that happen. How low does it go? I mean, I think there's a few good support levels on the way down. 14K being the main one, I think, depending on if we're gonna wipe out this month or next month. Because if it happens this month, I'd be very worried. Like it shouldn't really go to 14K this month, because imagine a monthly candle if we go to 14K this month. But I could see it like a wick to 14K next month and it'd still be bullish. But yeah, it shouldn't happen this month. So fingers crossed that it doesn't happen this month.
That'd be an awful chart, to be completely honest. I think we'll jump into Bitcoin in a sec, just to get over this kind of content article stuff. So that's the kind of liquidation, whatever stuff I want to discuss. The other one is this article from The Block. The Chinese police have, I don't know, this article's kind of all over the place, and the follow-up reporting, just there's some ambiguity and people debating the actual practicalities. But, seized 4.2, billion, sound like Trump there, 4.2 billion cryptos from Plus Token, Ponzi, crackdown, etc. I've seen that it's old news, seen that it's already, maybe it's not even true, based on, I think, those coins going through a mixer or something, and there's speculation being thrown around all over the place. I think it's, for my personal view, it's a similar sort of thing where you can use it to cope depending on your market view, right? If you're bullish, you're like, well, great, the Ponzi can stop selling now, or, it was responsible for price movements on the way down, now it's over. If you're bearish, it just seems some regulatory crackdown or imminent sell-off of like a large supply of Bitcoin. I don't really think it matters. Any thoughts?
I think it's old news.
Yeah.
I mean, like most people, it wasn't official news, right? But most people that have been connected at least a little bit to like a few people in China, and kind of know what's happening in the Chinese crypto scene. For example, Loomdot, right? If you're friend with Loomdot, you've heard all about it, basically. He's been telling this kind of stuff, like that's been seized and that's been sold on Huobi, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a 50-50 for pronunciation there.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's old news. It's been like most of it has, like, according to my sources anyway, has been sold off already. But yeah, it's definitely like something where people are gonna be scared of because it's a shitload.
Yeah.
But I think it's already mostly played out. So
She
it's
is long
definitely-
Bitcoin, it's in the treasury, so he owns it, all this kind of crap as well. No, I agree.
Yeah. I mean,
Cornholio with... Go on, sorry.
the thing is with this kind of stuff, right? Yeah, the moment the news breaks, it's usually already over. And I think it pays off to be kind of well connected in the space, because if you read that, you're gonna panic sell, right? If you have no idea,
especially
what's
the
going on.
East-West divide, right? I think it's pretty. I think Loom was writing about that earlier. It's a pretty big one. There's like a really big information asymmetry there. And if you're reading, I think, Western news about Eastern news developments, you're probably too late for that to be actionable. I think 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
By the time it gets here, gets translated reliably, whatever, I just think it's not like as price sensitive as you'd want it to be. And yeah, probably, I read somewhere that it was on Twitter actually, if you're going to panic, just panic early. But if you're too late to panic, it's like whatever.
Yeah, I think the thing is, we're not kind of used to, like for us in the West, usually when you get like official news, it's relatively early already. Like you don't get official news like half a year afterwards,
sure.
Right? Like our news outlets talk about it like if they're late, like a week after, 2 weeks after. It's not necessarily the case as far as I know, at least what comes from the East to us, because usually when we get anything, it's at least like a week, 2, 3, 4, 5, if not like this, pretty much a year old. So yeah.
I think it could be also just newsworthy because it's the actual court ruling came out, so that's the newsworthy part of it, the actual adjudication of the matter, as opposed to the amounts themselves being seized or whatever. But it's just interesting to discuss. And look, that's the whole point of this. Like, again, our favorite Cornholio, Credit's talking fundamentals, a sure sign of a top. I mean, look, I just think it's fun on the Friday to bring up some news and discuss it and have a chat and talk about something else rather than charts. Not saying it's price sensitive, not saying this means it's bullish, this means it's bearish, just like discussing stuff that's around and
it's
interesting. But to be honest, mate, this dickhead has been frustrating me, so I'm just going to hide user on this channel because I don't have to deal with vagabonds like him. So that's good.
Hit with the ban hammer.
Yeah, I mean, come on. This just dude comes in here, trolls and sarcastic, ironic. It's just not fun, so I can't be asked. Gainsey bought a golden gorilla figurine.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
the next.
That is more of a sign of a top than the other thing, really.
Yeah. So here you can see the. I think you saw this tweet initially from Hello Caitlin, and it's $7,000, and it was $10,000. Here's kind of what it looks like, and then Gainsey, of course, posted his proof of purchase receipt type of thing.
It's the most hideous thing I've ever seen.
Promotion applied minus 3,000. Amazing. I found it on the website. And this is what it is and how it looks like. So this is obviously
you're gonna get
GBP,
me to buy it here.
But yeah, it's. I mean, it's. I don't know.
It's glorious. You got like this.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's the best thing I've ever seen. It's so ugly and so perfect. I mean, I could see myself buying this shit too.
How big is it? I don't understand. I tried to find specifications, but I couldn't. So is he gonna get? Did he spend like, I don't know, whatever it is, $7,000 on like a little handheld baby gorilla? that seems like a very Gainsey thing to do.
Yeah. I don't think it's too big.
No,
right?
It can't be. It's like a jewelry thing, right? It's not going to be life size or anything. A statue or something.
But it is glorious. Yeah.
Would you get something like this?
No, this is actually something that the likelihood of me getting this is actually higher than most other stuff, because I'm just like, I don't usually like to spend money, right? If I spend money, I spend it on travels. Yeah. But this is so hilarious that, I mean, I could see, if I had something to drink, maybe.
Yeah. This is just a very Gainsey thing to do.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I fucking love it.
And the final thing before pure chart sort of stuff, and again, we always listen to feedback. If you don't enjoy us taking on the more kind of newsy, whatever, Twitter article type of stuff, let us know, and we can just do charts for an hour, I guess. But I think some diversity is good. The final one is, again, slightly lighthearted. I've got Peter Schiff's Twitter page open, of course. And it's always interesting because he's just retweeted Nouriel who made the whole Bitcoin has no role in institutional or retail investors' portfolios. It's not a currency, Bitfinex, US law enforcement, like a whole thread. It looks like 10 to 15 tweets here. Nuriel going off on a rant on the 26th of November, so that was yesterday. And then Peter as well, went off on the day of the drop with all sorts of, Bitcoin's getting wrecked. That's, posting the stuff he usually posts. Do you find part of it just simply funny how it's likely that they had those threads or Nuriel at least with his 15 threader, but they wait until the market actually dips, right? It's quiet on the way up, and then as soon as you get a red candle on a high time frame or they see that Bitcoin's down, it's like, okay, this is the perfect time to to post all my bearish opinions because price is going to go down, or price is down, so people are going to agree with me. I just find that quite cynically funny.
I think, honestly, the entire thing is just a grab for engagement.
Yes.
That's the thing. All of crypto Twitter, pretty much anyone really always retweets it and it's like, haha, this guy has been making fun of Bitcoin for this and this amount of time. And he's lost, he would have made so much money. And they don't realize that by sharing his shit, people see his profile, they click on it, and they're like, oh, this guy is in favor of gold. I like gold. And then he gets new people to join in on his stuff.
Lets him stay relevant, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's just what it is, I think. He doesn't really give a shit where Bitcoin goes. I think it's just, he sees that if you look through his posts, he didn't have any engagement and he started shit-talking Bitcoin constantly, and now he has engagement. It's it's a smart play. It's if you're just trying to make money off of Twitter or whatever, I can see why he's doing it. It's scummy, yes.
I don't fall for it every time, so I didn't blame him.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone falls for it. He's everyone knows his name, right? And in today's day and age, it's the only thing that you really have to do, right? You get your name out there. The moment people know your name, they can kind of you can profit off of that. And I think that's what he's doing. And I think that's what most people do that just constantly tweet stupid shit about it. And crypto Twitter is just an easy kind of target because we just like to meme.
Yeah, so I think that's totally fair. But he's good at it, right? He certainly plays the game well. I suppose the final thing is, have you caught up with any of the Coinbase stuff? Them front running the New York Times article, the New York Times article coming out, alleging pretty serious discrimination, etc., etc. Have you read through that? Is this something you care about? Do you think it's price sensitive at all? Or
no, I couldn't give less of a shit, honestly. I mean, it sounds kind of bad, but it's I don't know, all that outrage stuff. I mean, it sucks if that happens, if that's true. I have no idea, right? I'm not at Coinbase. I have no idea what they're doing. But I don't think it has any influence on Bitcoin price anyway. So it's if any other company had those kind of problems, I'd be like, oh shit, that again. And I think it's not really different if it's Coinbase or not.
Yeah, so. I think that's fair. And I think if anything, I mean, personal opinions aside on Brian Armstrong, at least he can't be faulted for being unclear. Right, because he was like, "Look, we're here to basically make a profit. If you value anything else other than that, we'll give you a generous exit package." Right, which is really bloody dystopian, right? It's like Milton Friedman's shareholder value maximization theory times a million, right? But at least he's not leading you on with that type of stuff. So I don't know. I find it hard to care about a US company's corporate practices, etc. I think if anything, if you care too much, it's a bad sign, because then you have the whole Coinbase too big to fail sort of thing, which no one should really want. But I think it's going to be interesting if Bitcoin continues creeping into the mainstream to see what the interplay is with traditional media. Because even within the article, they were like, it's crypto. There's a lot of crypto bros, and they literally, I think in the article said sexism or racism or something. I don't know. It's we're already. And look, in the second you join crypto Twitter, you see all the green frogs. It reinforces your bias. I think it might get messy. If things go in that direction. And Gainsy's going to be the first to fall. We know that.
I mean, he has somewhat of protection, but with his background. But in general, I think the moment like mainstream is subject to whatever the fuck crypto Twitter is, yeah, that's gonna not be pretty. I think we've kind of managed to be uncancelable as like a community, but I mean, who knows how that's continued. Like if Bitcoin mega rallies and kind of achieves what it wants to achieve, our space will change too. I mean, it's the same with Bitcoin, really, right? It went from people that had like great dreams and kind of thought, oh yeah, we're gonna change the world with this, to Sailor getting in and buying a shitload and number go up.
The CEO of Bitcoin, Michael Saylor,
yeah. So I mean, I've seen Not So Fast tweet a lot about that kind of stuff,
been really on point.
And I kind of tend to agree that it's been like it's kind of getting gobbled up in the traditional finance sector. Like it kind of gets integrated more and more, and then in the end, what's the difference, right? But number go up if that happens. So
pretty much
can't be too mad about it. It's just kind of like it depends on your values, right?
Depends what kind of market you're in. If you're in a bear market, those values matter a lot, right? And price doesn't matter. And then if the trend is bullish, then give me the ETF, give me the investors, the hedge funds and pension funds and sovereign wealth funds and all that type of stuff. Invest, institutionalize it. Give me all the futures, etc., etc. Yeah, it's something else, certainly. Somehow managed to kill 25 minutes, or not kill, spend talking non-price stuff. So that's shocking, I'm sure, to a lot of people. Someone in the chat, Papa Dad, mentions like Raoul Paul and all that type of stuff. I think maybe for another time. But I think he's just going through the typical cycle of like a crypto person. It's like, oh, Bitcoin, stock to flow, ETH, DeFi, XRP isn't that bad. He's on the roller coaster, on the merry-go-round, and God knows where he gets off, right?
Yeah, either that or he's just playing the same game as Schiff is, which I hate to be cynical about it, but I just kind of tend to agree that most people just try to do that. Try to get as much relevancy as possible, get the largest audience. It's something that I've hated about social media all my life. That it's not really about what you say, it's about how many people you can reach. And then you can just kind of, you adjust your behavior based on what pleases people the most. I've always hated that. But
when you turn your profile picture the straight way up.
Oh, I hate that even more.
I know. Look, I've got a Bitcoin chart open right now. I'm going to be slightly more boring because I've got a whole Monday to kill with this type of stuff. But as I've basically tweeted out in terms of general views, etc., the whole narrative, OI got flushed, this got flushed, first dip, and you're selling in a bull market, etc., I don't really care about. It doesn't play a part in my system, really, and it doesn't generate trade ideas. In terms of catching a bounce for even an intraday play or a high time frame play, depending on how it sets up, the first real area where I can afford to do so, or consider, depending on price, etc., because I don't really trade with limit orders, is this highest close level, which I think is at 16.2. A bit of resistance on the way up, right? It got smashed. And then if we poke down lower, we haven't actually retested, at least on Coinbase, the level itself yet. That is really the first area where I could turn somewhat long bias, or at least hunt for those entries, especially if we take previous week's price action. This was a spike below previous week's high, and then previous week's low lands at like 15.8, just below that high time frame level as well. So there's kind of a lot going on there for me at around 16k, for better or for worse. But then honestly, if that doesn't work, I really think we play out the monthly time frame retest closer to 13.8. And that makes sense from a weekly perspective, which would be one side of the range to the other, but also from a monthly perspective of, there really isn't much in the middle to interfere with a move like that. For me, it was a basic fact of I wake up, a lot of the selling happened in the overnight session, then you have a US holiday, whatever. Macro uptrend, super institutional buying goes offline. We nuke double-digit percentage and stop just in front of one of my high time frame levels that I can buy, there's just really not going to be a trade for me in those circumstances. Too late to short a bounce / hedge, too early to long because it didn't tap any of my levels. So I've just been waiting for something like that to set up. But I think for my system at least, this would be a weird point to get bearish, given again the proximity of high time frame structure and previous week's low at around 16k. But if that fails, and I think it'll be quite clear if it fails, as you suggested, the Monday buyer or the spot Chad, whatever TWAP institutional mega Chad, if that doesn't turn on, so to speak, if the on switch is broken, especially after the weekend, then I think a pretty fast move and continuation towards 13.8k is likely. But again, not until support breaks will that become actionable for me. But at the same time, again, we follow the same stuff in Technical Roundup. I can't help but pay attention to the fact that we've had a daily market structure break. The first one that we've had in a long time, literally throughout this whole uptrend. Daily market structure is just held up in higher highs, higher lows, be it via closes or candlestick lows as well. So an interruption or break in that pattern is obviously pretty significant, and that's what we had recently as well. And I think you're more better equipped to talk about this, but also the kind of parabola is or has been broken, at least most ways of drawing it, I imagine, on the daily time frame, and usually that leads to something non-trivial. Yeah. So yeah, that's my kind of summary version. Is we're too close to into weekly support or area where I'd be looking to fish for something for me to just completely sell this and try to catch it. There's just not enough space. I'd probably be comfortable hedging some sort of rally towards weekly open-ish or some of the structure we broke at 18k, mid 18k thereabouts. But really, what looks like the more likely or nearest opportunity for me is to fish for something near previous week's low. And if that doesn't hold, or if nothing goes on there that's actionable, I think it's a pretty quick move towards monthly structure at 13.8. Don't know if you agree, disagree, parabola. Feel free to share your screen as well.
Okay.
Salsa says, then we wait for Giga Chads and get fucked? Absolutely. We completely put all our hopes and full cope into some American institution top buyer. If he doesn't show up, the fun's over.
I mean, that's basically it, right?
Right? No, unironically,
it's crazy as crazy as it sounds, kind of. For me, I've been saying this for a while. The moment we start breaking daily support, right, any daily support, I think we're going to get a sizable pullback. And I mean, we broke daily support and immediately washed out a shitload of people, right, all the way into daily support. So, I mean, it doesn't really make much sense to kind of start shorting at daily support, in my opinion. But anything that goes close to this daily support that is now resistance, I think is a good place to hedge if you get it. I don't know if we're even going to get it, but if we do, it's a good place to hedge. And then you have a good invalidation, whereas if we close back above that level, good chance we go higher. And I mean, with a good chance, I mean, I'm almost certain we're going to go higher quite a bit. So if we do that, and yeah, it just secures kind of the gains from the rally. So that'd be my kind of preferred way of this playing out, just like getting a bounce into like into these lows here, maybe like 18k. And then I think that would be at least a temporary top, right? And then we get a second leg, which we could get all the way down to like 15, maybe even 14k. I could kind of see that play out, but that's kind of my inclination. I think that's what's most likely. If we do break down this weekend, which we could, right? Given the fact that the chat buyer doesn't really show up on weekends. Yeah, I mean, if we do that, I think that's a good play to make on Monday, where you're just at least betting on other people, hoping for the guy to show up. So it's like you're front running the people that are trying to front run the chat buyer, basically. As in, if we dump through supports this weekend, maybe into 15k, I think Monday is probably going to be a good day to at least buy the dip and then sell the rally again, sell the bounce, whatever. But yeah, for me, it's pretty difficult in this spot to take a trade based on the fact that we're just in the middle of nowhere, pretty close to support, but you don't want to buy, in my opinion anyway, you don't want to get like stupid, crazy into support right after the first time you actually break a support, right? So this is very, very different from any other pullback in this entire rally, where it's actually broken the support, and even more so, it's broken the parabola. Like you can kind of see like how this increased in momentum, and then we had this massive breakdown. So for me, it doesn't really, like, I don't want to buy this dip. I don't really see why. Could obviously beat the dip, right? But given the fact that this is so different from all the other dips, it's not something that interests me on the dip side. So I'm gonna try to hedge off my trading portfolio the closer we get to 18K, and then reconsider if we start closing back above daily support, or which is now daily resistance. That's kind of the plan. I think it makes a lot of sense, even more so given the fact how the monthly looks, right? Let's say we get a wick down to the monthly level. That'd be a decent buy, I think. And it would make sense, like the chart would make sense to me if we just closed somewhere in the 15, 16K area, wick down to 14K next month, maybe continued higher. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it makes a lot of sense to be a little bit cautious now.
Yeah.
I've not been, and now I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's hard to disagree. We've both been harping on about if something works really well and it keeps the trend intact, once that thing stops working, maybe don't treat it the same as before, right? And that daily market structure and the parabola, whatever, I think certainly give that a lot of weight, in my opinion. But I agree in terms of this area, like right now being just pretty tricky, because you're neither here nor there, right? If you slept through the dump, then most of the kind of short-term consequences, if you will, of that breakdown of daily support have already played out, right? And the proximity to other support or lower time frame structure where it just doesn't make sense to sell into is also there. So it's, yeah, that's why I kind of didn't tweet anything on the breakdown, because I'm like, what am I going to say? Like, it's too late it's too late to sell because we're at support, but it's too late to buy because we bounced from that support, right? What kind of tweet is that? Fucking useless tweet. So yeah, that's kind of my view, at least. I find it very hard to disagree with. I do hope, and I agree, that there's some sort of bounce to hedge this daily break in market structure. And I think another good thing is we came so close to all-time high, right? That if that daily support resistance that you pointed out, support turn resistance, doesn't do its job, there's a good chance we don't shoot just to all-time high, but some sort of significant overextension through it. So I don't think the upside capture is as small as it looks from, like, daily support and then, all-time high is the first trouble area or resistance. I think it's reasonable that we get some sort of volatility or whatever, but the fact that we came so close and set that high and then dumped with that, proximity to all-time high just makes me think if we creep back to those breakdown levels and don't find resistance there, we're going to overshoot by some margin that's worth catching, So yeah, I'm generally pretty defensive around here. As I said, if I get a 16K dip to fish for something, I'll do it, but not with the mindset of I'm trying to catch the macro low here, let's fucking go, etc. If it turns into that, fantastic. But as always, and when I'm cautious or counter trend or whatever, I treat those entries at high time frame structure still as low time frame trades. I get out of them at lower time frame first trouble areas and then reassess. But yeah, there's a sizable gap, in my opinion, between kind of 16K previous week's low, etc., and then the monthly 14K level, which you said, and I agree with, would make the chart kind of make sense. And I don't want to be trapped kind of in the middle, because I think if that move plays out, there's really not much in the way, especially because the monthly chart would look like a bit of a caca at that point. So, that certainly plays a part.
But I really, really don't want to see it happen this month. Let me actually quickly screen share, and then I'm gonna tell why. So, like, the reason why I really don't want to see the monthly close actually be like, let's say we continue dumping, right, which is in the cards because, like I said, the Coinbase guy is not there right now. We're on our own on the weekend,
leaving us on scene.
Yeah, so like if we close at 14K this month, right, it'll be the most ugly chart I've ever seen. It'd be the massive wick to the upside, close that resistance, would close below resistance, would close below the highest close that we've had. So that'd be just massively bearish. I think if that happened, we'd get a macro pullback, like a massive giant pullback, I think. So really don't want to see that happen. 3 days for that kind of giant move the weekend is a tall ask. So I don't think it's gonna happen. It's just if it does happen, I mean, yeah, I'd be terrified. I hope it doesn't, but yeah, it's worth talking about anyway, I think.
Yeah. I'd like a bit more of a boring market at this point, to be honest, where neither, I mean, at least for this monthly close and then maybe half of the next monthly candle, that neither the rush to all-time high, buy the first dip and get instantly rewarded, nor the kind of 8K 30% correction doom crew. It'd be nice if they just had to shut up for a few weeks and let price kind of resolve one way or another. But yeah, I'm just personally in a tough spot with my trading system because we're so close to support. Kind of want to fish for something, but at the same time, didn't actually reach it on this data feed at all. So there's, as you said, in the middle of nowhere. And I think the more informed and the more important decisions will come on a test of that area, which for me is around just under 16K, essentially, or on a bounce that goes much higher to hedge off whatever, probably the pre-breakout consolidation, weekly open, etc., kind of 18K area, if we're talking meaningful rallies. So kind of this area is important. I'm just cleaning up my chart a little bit. So for me, this is important, and kind of this is important, but everything in between, I'll just let Jules 10x his balance while I sit there and wait for something more meaningful. Do you have a view on ETH, given all of that?
Quickly, like the funny thing about this entire move is that the patient bulls have been getting absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
And the 8 bulls have been getting rewarded for it like constantly. Right? Like if you look at this, if you've been like cautious, whatever, patient bull waiting for like a wipe of any lows, whatever, you didn't get anything. From 10K all the way up, you didn't get anything. And if you've been patient, you try to catch anything like at the lows, and then you get absolutely spiked through. So it's been an ape market, and it's kind of been in the favor of just the
aggressive
mindlessly
traders
buying. Yeah, the mindlessly buying of dips. And the reason why I've said, okay, the market dynamic has changed a little is because those actually got like their first defeat. And when that happens, makes sense to be at least a little bit cautious, because that shows that something has changed. Be it that this is maybe the last big shakeout before Mega Moon, and I think that could happen, but it would happen above 18K. So it makes a lot of sense to just kind of position yourself aggressively above there, not down here where it's like, okay, something has changed and we don't know what yet. But yeah, it's just my view, but we'll see how it plays out. With regards to ETH, I don't really have too big of an ETH view. It's kind of the same thing as Bitcoin, right? You really don't want to see it close below 400. If that would happen, it'd be the most ugly chart. It would even would even be worse than Bitcoin would be. So just hope it doesn't happen. If it does happen, getting short makes sense to me, but I mean, it doesn't really make sense to talk about it before it happens, I think. Because I mean, expecting this to dump by $100 in the next 3 days is a little bit of a tall order. So anything besides that, I don't really have a big view on, because I mean, we're still bounced from weekly support. As long as that holds, it's all good.
Yeah.
This could just be a pullback. It's one red candle. It's nothing to panic about. And yeah, if it does lose 400, I think starts looking really ugly, but we're pretty far from that. So yeah, I'm pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, there's no trade for me to be had. If I was super aggressive in trading ETH, I'd be looking at this kind of level.
Yeah.
But I'm not, so it's not something for me. I'd much rather just let ETH be ETH and trade Bitcoin or Link in my stead. And I've talked about this a lot. I like trading Link right now, so I'm just going to continue.
Not in the usual direction that people trade Link. I covered a lot of DeFi USD pairs on my Monday stream, and then the market got wrecked, obviously, and then some of those just look like a pile of dog shit, but a few of them actually ended up looking decent. But I just don't have enough macro kind of certainty or whatever to start punting these yet. So I mean, we'll do it on Monday, but like, out of the ones, YFI held up decently, because the thing, right, they dump harder, but they typically bounce harder as well. That's kind of how you play with altcoins, right? YFI held structure decently well. Uni took a shit. Aave, I mean, God, what a day, right? What's the daily range on this candle here from high to low?
Jesus.
That's like 25% move in one day, and is retesting the structure we talked about as resistance. Like, SNX, God, ugly, but I want to revisit this on the live stream because this area is pretty
head and shoulders.
Yeah, knees and toes, right? Band didn't hit anything. Sushi, actually, dude, I don't know what you think about this chart, but there's like one support level I care about, and it kind of held, so that's decent in relative terms. Curve just took a shit. Rune, I mean, that's a big retracement to support, and then the index is whatever. But I don't know, when I'm uncertain, or when there's like a big paradigm shift, if you will, or shift in structure in the majors, I'm just not good enough outside of really short-term bounces, but even then, quite rarely, to play altcoins with any confidence. So I've just got macro worries at that point, rather than seeing altcoins as an extra advantage if the majors are clearer or if they don't matter all too much. But with Link, again, I was enamored with this structure at 13 to 14. And I wanted to get something on the lower boundary of that, because again, with clusters, the upper boundary entry is typically kind of your aggressive or continuation one, and higher probability of getting filled, obviously, well, typically, because it's closer to market if you're buying a retest. And then the lower boundary is where you get your better entries, but might miss out if if the market is just very aggressive and bounces off the top of the range rather than the bottom of the range. I was waiting for the daily close for this kind of wick to maybe show signs of, okay, this was the overextension from the majors dumping, we're going to hold the bottom structure, and then there's a trade from bottom to top, and then at that point the level we actually talked about, I think Duck has got as a level, whereas we just drew it on the chart last time. I'm not entirely sure. I think it was either this lowest close or this last low pre-break here. Either way, you've got the box there, haven't you? I
have the box on the left side. Yeah, exactly.
But in this case, it doesn't look too good, to be honest. I mean, I get the market structure argument of higher highs, higher lows, etc. But sometimes I'm more market structure oriented, sometimes I'm more levels oriented, and I don't really care what market structure looks like if this 13 to 14 cluster high range low is going to act as resistance. So that's not great. But you shorted Link. I was there for, I actually fell asleep during a live stream.
Oh shit! This is
so
boring. No,
it wasn't. No. It wasn't like that. I was really tired. I think it was like a lower body training day, whatever. And I'm just vibing, leaning all the way back in my chair. And then by the time I opened my eyes, it was the stream over thumbnail. But what was the Link setup? Are you still in it? Do you want to give a Link update?
Yeah, I can. I mean, what I've been doing, right? My entire Link thesis has been, I saw this $20 tag, and I'm like, okay, I'm expecting Link to have topped, right? So I tried to short the lower high, managed to do so, got in here. We've talked about this on stream back then. I think, obviously it's still on YouTube. So tried to short the lower high, managed to do so. And for me, it's just been kind of like trying to play this as a top. And for me, it was obvious that if it would bounce from support, this would be as high as it could go if it was still a top structure, right? So I was just like, okay, $15. If it goes anything above 15, and goes all the way back and breaks the $18 kind of high that it set a while ago, then it's not topped, right? So it's like, you're not going to get a better trade than that.
It's like the last spot for a lower high, right?
Yeah. So like if you're saying, okay, Link has macro topped, right? Where's the last spot where you can sell? That's kind of how I looked at it. Because usually with these altcoins, they have enough hype to push them in exactly that, in that kind of spot where it's the last spot where it can actually be high, or like in general the top. And so I looked for that and kind of had this set up, and I'm trying to play it like this, where it's like you short the resistance with the stop above the high, very, very traditional kind of play, and then you take it all the way to support. If it goes all the way back down to the support, I don't think that's going to hold.
Would you hold it past that though? Because you sometimes close early.
No, I would close it just based on the fact that one, I mean, you're kind of getting greedy there. Like I would expect, like maybe it takes out the low and then starts rallying again, and you give back a shitload of profit, right? And even more so, I mean, this is in general already a pretty aggressive trade, I would say, based on the fact that Link's been only going up, right? The history of Link is, okay, it just keeps going up. So assuming that Link has topped is kind of aggressive already. And that's why I'm like, if it goes back to $14, $15, and I mean, I got 15 free. So got pretty high up in the wick. But if it goes back to $15, I'm going to get out, because I don't want to see that happen, because then if it starts bouncing there, goes back into that resistance, that doesn't look like a top to me anymore.
Yo, sorry, give me 30 seconds. You can entertain chat, I'm sure. 1 sec.
Yep. So if it does that, it wouldn't be a top anymore to me. So I'm just playing Link as if it's topped, and as soon as it gives me an indication that it hasn't, I'm gonna get out and scrap my Link plans. But yeah, I've been juggling this back and forth, and it's been going pretty nicely. I like trading Link, but a little bit different than the other people, because Link's just mainly everyone's been longing Link. I think there's a good chance that it's just went through its cycle, and usually you get cycles like this. So this is the mini cycle, right, where you get a blow off top into a lower high and then you dump. And I think this is the macro cycle, where when you zoom out, you get, like, if you would zoom out on a higher time frame, you would have the same structure with this as the top. So with the lower high, right? So it'd just be fractal. And I think this is kind of what I'm playing, and this is kind of what I think. So nice. I think there's a fractal in there, where this thing is exactly this thing in here. So that's why I took the play. And so far I've been rewarded. I don't know if I'm going to get away with it again. The first time was stressful. This time, less so. So, I mean, the more stressed I am taking the trade, the more likely it is to play out in recent history. So who knows if it's going to play out. But yeah, so far I've been good.
Anything else going, or just the Link position at the moment?
No, just Link. It's enough for me. Based on the fact that Bitcoin's pretty tough, I think, to trade in blow-off top mode. I mean, I'm going to hedge if I get the chance to. If not, I don't think... Like, there's a good chance that the macro top is not in, even if it goes low. I mean, if it closed at 14K this month, I'd probably just accept that I've just given back a shitload of this rally and start hedging there. Because, yeah, fuck that. But until then, just relax, trading my stinky linkies.
I think one thing that I think is... I think lots of thinking, even though it doesn't show in my thoughts. One thing that is worth making clear, in my opinion, and this is something I wish I was told earlier, is that no matter what happens, Twitter will always find a way of making you feel stupid for not catching a move. But just ignore that. 9 times out of 10, the move wasn't telegraphed or really straightforward, and there's a bunch of decisions to make in the interim, and a myriad of ways to fuck up those decisions. Right? So if it mega moons from wherever we are now, or just goes up in a straight line, the tweets that will come up will make it seem like the most obvious bottom on the planet that everyone and their grandmother and anyone that just finished baby pips a day ago could have bought, right? And you'll feel like a complete idiot for being cautious, etc. At the same time, if it just, bounces and nukes or keeps going lower, and let's say hits 14k, in a similar way, you can log on to Twitter and it will be the most, apparently, in hindsight, of course, the most telegraphed move ever. With, of course, it was going to hit 14k. That was obvious. That dip was for selling. That marked the top. Look at this break in market structure, etc., etc. There's a real survivorship bias on Twitter, as well as just a lot of stuff which isn't true. And that will find a way to make you feel stupid, or that you should have done this, should have done that, etc. I'll just say forget it and focus on the process. And nothing is ever as straightforward as it seems. And if you were here even for like a very short period of time, you'll remember exactly what I'm talking about on the 10.7k retest, right? On the monthly time frame, it literally looks like the most obvious thing in the world, right? The highest close on the 10.7 level, the retest here, and then we go to the next level and through it at 13.8k. Like, if you show anyone this chart, there's no way on God's green earth that you don't get long here, right? It just looks so clear. But I was obviously there, and I'm sure many of you were, on Twitter during those 2-3 months that we were retesting the 10k area, went to 12, went to 9.6. It was anything but clear, and then only became clear in hindsight. Go figure, right? So, don't let Twitter get to your head or affect the decision-making process, make you feel like you missed X, Y, Z. Follow your system and do what you think is right, and then deal with the consequences once they come up. There's no point kind of kicking yourself additionally once the usual social media posts flood up. They'll always simplify things and have the benefit of hindsight, and I don't know. It's just not a very productive mindset. Don't know if you agree with that. Guess not. Do you, Duck? Right, the Duck is dead. Maybe I just upset him because he was just preparing all his clout tweets. So that's the sad consequence of having Donald on the show. But yeah, that's that. I don't think there's... Again, I'll be on Monday, so in terms of diving terribly deep into all of these, I think that's better kept for that session. If you have any questions or anything you want me or us to discuss, let me know, and we can certainly jump into that. Hugely...
should work.
Yeah, you're there.
Am I back?
Yes, you are. You are back. Oh, are you gone again? You're playing with my heart here. Scream says, guys, one more question. What do you think about paid newsletter subs? I've been a premium member to some of these newsletters, but I'm kind of disappointed. 89% of the stuff they share I can do. I think you've kind of answered your own question. Most of them aren't expensive. Like when we had Technical Roundup, I think it was $30 a month. Which, if you're a trader to even part-time or as an enthusiast, your trading fees alone sort of thing, it's really not talking huge sums if this is a job or even hobby that you can afford. So I think you've answered your own question. Check it out. Try it out for a month. Most of them are monthly, so it's not like you have to sign over your house. See if it makes sense for you, if it's helpful for you, if it covers stuff that you don't keep up with, gives you actionable signals or whatever it is. I think that's also important. Make sure you know why you're signing up, like what you expect. Like if you want signals and it doesn't give you signals, unsubscribe. If you want insights and it gives you insights, stay there, right? So yeah. I wouldn't just do this thing where you sign up to all of them and then keep the ones which are great, etc. Just most of them have free previews available anyway, so I guess just do what's best for you. Ranak says everyone is expecting a 40% dump. Yeah, again, I just really don't like and don't give much weight to narratives, and that's the tweet I made with, we always retest this and we always pull back this much and we always, this gap has to be filled. I'll just say forget it and trade whatever your system tells you to trade. If you have support somewhere, if you have a structure, you have a directional bias, something, prioritize that over what you think should or ought to or must happen based on whatever, the past or what people are saying on social media, etc. It really doesn't matter. And those narratives are often just coping mechanisms. Like, if someone's like in a late short position, they obviously need to have extended targets for the move to justify staying in. And it just doesn't help you trade. It doesn't make you a better trader. Like, I'm not saying, like, narratives and a macro view are two different things. If you have a macro view that informs your trading, fantastic. But just buying into things that you see on Twitter because they get, like, a lot of engagement or they're widely spread, I don't think is a particularly good way or sensible way to trade. It's just not a system. It doesn't mean anything. What was I going to say about narratives? Yeah, I mean, the obvious example, the funniest example, in my opinion, was, you know, on the way up, while the 3-day trend literally looks like this, right? Like, absolutely mental, just unparalleled. What you're seeing narrative-wise on the way up is that institutions, spot buyers, TWAP are all FOMOing in, chasing Bitcoin to all-time high, etc., etc. That's when the market looks like this. So then we get like a almost 20% down move, or certainly a double-digit. I mean, from high to low, I think it was like 17%. But a double-digit down day in this market, which was exacerbated by liquidations and less liquid conditions because of US holidays, etc. And then suddenly, those macro spot buyer, whatever narratives disappear. Or they're not as active on Twitter to justify buying a dip. And that's just fucking bizarre, right? Because then I'm supposed to believe, on the way up, all these millionaires, billionaires, huge funds, etc. are allocating everything to just buying the vertical rally. But then as soon as there's a high time frame dip, double-digit percentages, suddenly they're like, oh no, fuck this, Bitcoin can go down as well? Forget it. You know, Michael Saylor just loves Zcash now or something. It's just bullshit.
That's kind of how it always works.
Is this how it? Welcome back, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it's fun.
Thank you.
I think it's honestly fun, the narratives, the ideas, and building this image of these billionaires or whoever is going to send everything your way and so on and so forth. Or as soon as the market pulls back, you're like, yes, it has to go 40% now because it always goes down 40%. It's just a load of shit. Don't pay it any attention. Take it as the entertainment as it is, but it's not like actionable trading alpha or whatever you want to call it, in my opinion at least. Just trade what's in front of you, not what people tell you should happen based on God knows what logic, you know?
I think in general, narratives can be very, very powerful as long as you get into them early and then don't watch them play out. So, for example, you get a narrative and you think, okay, this is a very, very potent narrative. I think that's gonna like influence price. Like, let's say the sailor buy, right? You hear that, you have like a very prominent figure in the spotlight that's going to talk a shitload about Bitcoin all the time. And you're like, okay, the narrative is Bitcoin is going to overtake everything. You don't even have to necessarily subscribe to it, right? And then you're like, okay, if that narrative gets a little bit of steam behind it, price is going to go up. So you play that first leg, that maybe the second leg, but you don't play it until it actually happens, as in it actually Bitcoin overtakes everything. You don't want to, as a trader, you don't want to take it that far, right? So you take what you get, the high probability move, which is people get on board on the narrative and they're like, holy shit, this is great. This is going to go to the moon. And then you exit before it's actually at the moon. Oh. And I think that's a good way to kind of look at the narratives. Yeah. You see the narratives coming. As the first person that sees them coming, you make a shitload of money. You don't see the narrative coming and then join in late and you get absolutely rolled.
Yeah, it's just like buying the good news sort of thing. And again, a personal precursor, if I'm... Yeah, I mean, I think there's almost a difference between like narrative and then like conventional wisdom, but it's not really wisdom, it's just made up shit about like how price moves. But even on the narrative side of things, I agree entirely. And also, in my personal kind of view, even when you have a narrative that you subscribe to, I think in one form or another, on one time frame or another, the technicals to some extent need to align to support that. Because otherwise you just end up just buying shit you see on Twitter and selling shit you see on Twitter when it may have no basis in the form of a setup. So, for example, you have like a positive narrative and then the technicals start to follow through. You're like, okay, this might have an extended move to it or have extra legs to it because it's got this fundamental boost. So I'm going to, extend my take profit targets or not be as picky with my entry, etc., etc. Like, that makes sense, right? But at the same time, the halving was a fantastic example where there was all this hype, especially like leading up to the event and the expectation, etc. And then price sort of did nothing. Then we just dumped a little bit and then weeks later it just continued kind of crawling up. Right? In the grand scheme of things, it was, in my view, arguably immaterial. And it's just not the sort of thing where you catch on, like if you're catching on to it like via Twitter, for example, and then you get positioned once it's like the topic of the day, you're probably a bit late, in my opinion. And at the same time, if your system is telling you the opposite, or there's no alignment with price, etc., or even the opposite, that's probably a red flag, in my opinion, as well. Because then it's just, talk is cheap, but actually moving this damn thing with the money required is a whole different ball game.
Well said. Well said.
Any final notes, Duck? Any weekend plans?
I mean, I'm gonna, because I've got a new apartment that I'm moving into.
Yeah, let me just open up on Google Maps just so we can.
in February, so I'm gonna go and see if I can get some cool shit to buy. So that's what I'm gonna do on the weekend.
Nice.
I've got like all the plans, got all the how big is everything, how big does the fridge have to be, that kind of shit that I'm gonna just use to kind of virtually fill in the apartment and then actually buy it for February. So that's my plan.
Very adult type of weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to it actually. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, I bet. You've been trying to get out for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been in general, you would think during COVID, no one's looking for houses or apartments or anything really. It's not really been the case. So, a lot of demand and,
Just like
but
for
now,
Bitcoin,
finally. Right? For now, yeah.
Nice. Well, in that case, I've got nothing smart to add. So, thank you to Bybit for sponsoring this episode and all episodes of Technical Roundup. If you'd like to support the live stream, make sure to check out their links in the description below. We are at 98 likes, 2 more good people should hit the thumbs up to get us over that 3-digit milestone. That would be most appreciated. As for content going forward, again, me on Monday, newsletter Tuesday, Duck on Wednesday, so plenty to sink our teeth into next week. And I think at that point it'll be rather clear whether the Chad Coinbase please bail me out buyer is going to step in or watch this creep lower so they themselves can get some sort of discount. I mean, who knows at that point, right? That's all from us. Thank you for spending your Friday with us. Have a productive weekend, and we'll see you next week. Duck, thank you as well. I'll chat to you in a bit.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.